Students, my name is Dr. Srinivas Goli. I am an assistant professor in population studies at Jawaharlal Nehru University. Under MHRD UGC E-Pathashala program, we are dealing with a paper on population structure and characteristics. Today, I am presenting you a module on Introduction to Feminist Theories. The main learning objective of this module is, in this module we will learn about different theories of feminism and their nature. The broad feminist theories are classified into three broad categories. One is gender reform theories, which basically emphasizes on similarities between sexes and seek justice and equality for women in terms of socio-political and family rights. The second phase of feminist theories are gender resistance theories. So the first one is only reformistic approach. The second one is a resistant approach. In the second wave of theories is gender resistant theories. This gender resistant theories are basically have their roots in resistant approach, whereas the first one is the reformist approach. This particular theories is mainly the roots in fight against the deeply seated patriarchal dominance and gender social order. The third form of feminist theories are gender rebellion theories, which roots in emphasis on the intersectionality of inequalities and seek to overthrow rigid identity formation of oppression which comes out of the different social system and interaction of different social system with the gender, thus how women is more disadvantaged when the gender interacts with the other form of social discrimination. If you look at the liberal feminism, which is part of the first wave of feminist theories, comes under the reformist gender-based theories. Genesis of this particular feminist theories and their social constructs, we mainly come across the difference between men and women, which is rooted in the social constructs of gender and not in biology. Equality can be achieved through the legal and political reforms, equal wages, and increasing of women's representation in job market, politics and social institutions. The important the literature which advocates on the liberal feminism is by John Stuart Mill. Basically, the book on subjugation of women is one of the highlight. This book highlights the principles which regulate the existing social relations between the two sexes. The legal subordination of one sex to the other is the wrong in itself and how one of the chief hindrances to human improvements. This ought to be replaced by principles of perfect equality, admitting to no power or privilege on the one side nor disability on the other. The next wave is a resistance of feminist theories which grounded in resistance, basically is a Marxist form of feminism. These particular feminist theories based in the class hierarchy, and this class hierarchy are the chief source of women's subordination and oppression, particularly sexual oppression. Family as a source of oppression and exploitation for women. These particular these particular theories grounded in family as a source of oppression and exploitation for women. They also advocates about the Marxist view of feminism. As Marxism evolved under an explicitly feminist analysis, women are seen as the perpetual servants of capitalism, the one who could be definitely exploited by the language and functioning of the capitalism, as Smith written in his book Women's Studies, The Basics, published by Routledge. Another way of feminist theories is the socialist feminism, a strategy for basically it is a strategy for the women movement started in 1972. It is grounded in capitalistic patriarchy, which is roots. Capitalist patriarchy is the root cause of the women's subjugation. An extension to the Marxist feminism is but this mainly not only works on class hierarchy but also on reasons for gender oppression, looking into the reasons for gender oppression. An extension of radical feminism. This is particularly socialist feminist theories are an extension to the radical feminism, and which ground in patriarchy, not the only source of gender oppression, but there is a number of other forms of social oppression which intersects with the gender. Interconnectedness of patriarchy and other social economic reform and other social economic systems are important. Particularly, the relationship between the patriarchy and capitalism has been seen as one of the important form of women's suppression. They also looked at a broader wave of women's subordination. As Gilla Einstein says, a real mix of interrelationship between capitalism and patriarchy is expressed through sexual division of labor. Sexual division of labor not only at the households but also at the workplace, at the institutions, in the community. Even if you look at Juliet Mitchell's work on socialist feminism, which advocates the male chauvinism is the primary to obtain psychological ego satisfaction. Male ego identity is sustained through having power over the female ego. Female oppression won't disappear as a result of a purely economic revolution. Patriarchy is achieved through socializing and maintained by the institutional method. So patriarchy re-inculcated, re-maintained or continued through the socializing and maintaining the certain social institutions which re-advocate or continue to advocate the patriarchy. Then the other feminist theories are radical feminist theories, which basically oppose to sexual oppression. Sexual oppression, which they think that is a fundamental form of women's oppression. The notion of sisterhood has been encouraged. Women are oppressed because biological differences and social construction of femininity. So they take into account not only the social construction, but they are also opposed to the biological differences arised, because the women, we know that women are not allowed to enter into certain jobs, certain occupations because of their biological and natural functions due to their biological makeup. So that also challenged in this particular moment. They seeks to separation from the men as a group. They want to do not want a binary between men and women. Rather, this is that they within the individual to individual, because all men are not the patriarchal followers or women are not the feminist followers. So they remove this binary from the radical feminist literature. They remove this binary from the feminist literature. Then they also advocate women are intermediate between male and enoch, which described as a feminine. So they says that they are intermediate between the feminine and the male. So this particular concept need to be understood. So if you go back to other literature, particularly the Dialect of Sex by the Firestone, the revolutionary attack on natural reproductive process is one of the important concepts. She supports artificial reproduction process because they think that the reproductive process is one which actually subjugating women as a secondary sex and subordinating them to men in all forms of life. The personal is they encouraged the political participation of women and abolition of family system. So this is something because they thought that family is the root of all oppressions and family is the genesis for all these oppressions of women. The lesbian feminism is another important wave of feminist theories which can be important for the contemporary world. Particularly, they are opposing to heterosexuality is the root cause of women's oppression, because the marriages between heterosexual unions they think that is a root cause of the feminist women's oppression. The combination of sexual orientation, gender identity and radical ideologies are the part of this lesbian feminist theories, particularly revolution against the heterosexual relationship and opposition against the heterosexual relationship is the root of this particular movement. And particularly they opposed the dominant male and passive female in the role of sexual relation. They are not only against the male, but they are also opposed to the passive females. Exclusion of lesbian and bisexual women in second wave of feminism was severely criticized, and they are also against the displayed by the heterosexual feminist. The ideas displayed by the heterosexual feminist. Among the important people who advocated the lesbian feminism is Jill Johnston, Lesbian Nation, in her book Lesbian Nation, the feminist solution, which is the celebrated as a satire on heterosexuality. Rita Mae Brown, the woman has identified women identified as a woman, a 10-paragraph manifesto which she published. It advocates that male society defines as a lesbian as a sexual act, which reflects men's limited view of women. They think of us only in terms of sex. Then there is also a feminist movement called psychoanalytic feminist movement. Feminism, psychoanalytic feminist theories or psychoanalytic feminist movement. This particularly works on the role of consciousness in women's oppression, like how women, whether women realizing the feminism, realizing the women's oppression, whether they are able to recognize that what is good and what is bad for them, or where she is suppressed and where she was subordinated. Particularly in this like a language developed by psychological, like where did these can be, how can we realize these unequal power relationships between men and women. Then another important was the standpoint feminism. Especially this particular movement is an androcentric knowledge of production, where we have discussed earlier in the other modules that androcentric feminism or androcentric social biology theories, which advocates that male is a superior or female is inferior. Particularly androcentric knowledge production, which basically inculcate the gender divide in production of knowledge. Certain social groups have no access, no intellectual capital, no say and no role in the knowledge production. Epistemic oppression of minorities by sex, race, class, ability, age and nationality or so on is an important standpoint of feminism. The feminist standpoint compared to proletariat industrial labor is domestic labor of women. This is also compared to the proletariat industrial labor which with the domestic labor of women. Then multiracial feminism based on intersection of racism and sexism. A liberal movement, women color against the apartheid. Actually, multiracial feminism is a liberation movement by women of different color against the apartheid. It is also interlocking oppression faced by women in multiracial and multicultural categories. The multiracial feminism is also the political theory. Multiracial feminism is the political theory and practice to free all women of color, we are working class women, poor women and physically challenged women, lesbians and old women, as well as white economically privileged heterosexual women. Anything less than that is not the feminism but merely female self-organized movement. Then also the recent feminist movement is the post-modern feminism movement, aims to overthrow the oppressions of power rather than mobilizing political movements to ensure justice for a range of women categories, including lesbian, black women and ethnic women. Then another form of feminist movement and feminist theories is the queer feminism. This is an oppression they particularly advocate an oppression due to the deviation from the norm. Based that women should behave like this, women should dress like this, women should wear it's all the kind of norms which are advocated to women. It is a radical attack against the over-emphasis on binary identities such as the black and white, heterosexuality, homosexuality and ability and disability. It is also for the sexual autonomy. These are destabilize the traditional sexuality or sex roles, that women should do household chores, men should do outside chores. So this binary division of labor has been questioned. It is also creating a society which is genderless and and bisexual. It is against the binary romantic entitles and the idealization of heterosexual love. Sex is a cultural construct which is modeled by culture and thus becomes a gender, as it is clearly described in Judith Butler's book on gender trouble, feminism and subversion of identity, which published in 1990. Students, this particular module you can refer to the books of Bell Hooks on feminist theory for margins to the center, and also you can also look at the book by Gilla Unstein, Construction, a Theory of Capitalist Patriarchy and Socialist Feminism, an insurgent sociologist. But you can also like Stuart Mill's book on subjugation of women, and this is an edited version and introduced by Susan. Then you can also look at the book by Smith on Women's Studies, the basics of women's studies, published by Routledge. Thank you.